But I don't tend to be clever enough to come up with the concept in the first place. It's just figure out what someone else has done and see if we can make it work.
Make it work for a Lambretta.
Yeah, well, like the reed manifolds. The difficulty in that is make the thing fit.
So
the idea of a reed, that's not new.
So give us a quick background on these then, how they came into being, because LTH...
Unfortunately, LTH are no longer making their nice little inlet manifold that didn't require a lot of modification to fit. So Manish approached us from UNI and said that, look, I'd like to make a replacement for.
And this is a manifold to go on a standard cylinder.
Yes. So
to create a reed valve create a reed valve induction onto a barrel that doesn't have it built in from a TS1. Yeah.
So if you've got a Rapido or a standard stage 4 200, you could now take that cylinder, put your bike on the bench, take the inlet manifold off, and you'd be able to fit that one on without having to cut any of the fins on the cylinder or make any other modification. It would allow you just to bolt it on. There are lots of improvements that can be made with you being allowed to do porting and further, but you don't have to. You can just bolt that straight on.
But you haven't just copied the...
No, it's not quite the same as the LTH one. The biggest difference with what's the LTH one was that they made theirs fit both the 150 and the 200. That meant that you were modifying to suit either, because they'd compromised to make one casting suit both. We've gone to take away that compromise, meaning that now we'll have to have two manifolds made, double the cost of tooling, all the rest of it, but the advantage is we shouldn't need to make as much modification to fit, and it should fit slightly better without you having to do as much work. Also, we've added, hadn't been done previously, was the option to be able to run the standard carburetor with that manifold. So if you look at the manifold next to a standard one, try to not get that to roll off, that'll do the job. That's the 200 one to compare. But effectively, the position, it's like a standard manifold swallowed a reed valve. That's what you're done. So you now could just take a standard off-the-shelf bike, swap the manifold and do no other work, and you've got something that still functions. You can now choose to upgrade carb, you can choose to port the cylinder and everything else, but you don't have to. Also, it'll fit. I tested every type of the Yamaha Aerox reed I could find, the little Minarelli horizontal ones. You can get these reed valves from extremely cheap, less than £5, all the way up to £70. So you could suit, if you're doing a highly strung thing with all the porting, all the extras, put an expensive reed in there, you've got a good reason. But if you were just using it as a more standard runabout and you just wanted that little bit of tractability and fuel economy, there's no need to spend 70 quid on that reed.
It's an off-the-shelf little block.
And you can buy them off everyone else. You're not locked in with us at all.
For a Minarelli engine.
Yeah, we're not even going to make that reed. We're just going to get them off the shelf ourselves, and we'll end up, usually, I think, we'll pick one that we like most and be the one we mainly offer, I think. But we will very much supply you the bits and say, if you want to buy anyone else's reed, don't worry, you get their reed.
So when are you looking at these going on sale?
Don't know. It'll come down to the samples being right when they come through, and us being able to go forward quickly. But there's often steps in the way. It wouldn't surprise me at all if it ends up being a year. I would very much hope it's less than that. But it's until you get the sample that's right and the manufacturer's ready to go. Yeah, I don't know.
Advantage-wise on a standard, say, stage 4 200.
Fuel economy and lower RPM, where the inlet duration on the stage 4 200 is quite long to let it rev higher. That's not ideal to the low speed tractability. So if you did nothing but fit a reed valve into a stage 4 200, you would find that you'd have slightly more tractable lower RPM and you'd have better fuel economy. You would lose some top speed because you're pushing air through a restriction that wasn't there before. You could then get that back if you chose to port it, because you can go more extreme on the porting with a reed than you could without. The obvious and first example would be you can cut the piston skirt to mean that the inlet would stay open all the time and only the reed controls it closing. You could then add a boost port to it to give you a bit nicer flow path through the cylinder, and that will give you a more responsive cylinder. And then you could also lift the exhaust port higher and you could get more power out of the vehicle, because you wouldn't have compromised the bottom end in the way that you would have if you'd not run the reed. So if you took a Group 4 bike You're not going to have something nice to use on the road. Yeah, they're blindingly quick, but they're appalling at low RPM. Just listen to how badly they run when they're near tick over. You could put a reed valve on a Group 4 engine and you'd actually make it rideable, or rideable to a normal mere mortal.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, at the same time, it no longer would be suitable for Group 4. They know what they're doing. But yeah,
I presume there's no idea on price on them yet.
I hope they won't be expensive. Yeah, I don't expect they're going to be too pricey.
No.
UNI have been very good with the aluminium casting.
Yeah.
The guys they work with do a very good job, and they're not daft. The key there will be numbers. We will be getting them stacked high because that's the way you get them at the right price. So once they've got them right, I expect to have a lot of them.